Hello, this is David from PowerMetal.cl, and today we're having the chance to talk with Marcus Siepen from Blind Guardian. So, how are you doing, man?
I am very fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's very nice here in Helsinki, sunny day. Not always that kind of situation, so everything's going well. So let's start with some fun questions that we have from people in Chile, especially or mostly in Chile. Let's start with this. One person asked me about the what can fans expect nowadays from the album tour cycles of Blind Guardian, because there's been more and more time between albums, and there was the orchestral album, the Pandemic, and Demons and Wizards tour and album. But do we need to think that we have to wait 10 years now for the next album?
No, obviously not. I mean, the break between, or the break between the previous album and now the God Machine and the God Machine tour obviously has been longer due to all the things you mentioned. I mean, the pandemic stopped everything for quite some time. Before that, we did that Demons and Wizards run, which took time. But we definitely don't want to take that long. I mean, we are aware of the fact that usually it is like 4 years between an album and the next. And we like to keep it that way because that's the time that works for us. I mean, normally when we put out an album, we're on the road for like 2 years, and we don't write new songs on the road, because when you're on the road, you play all the old songs, and that's what you have in the back of your mind. And if we start songwriting in a period like this, all the new songs would sound like the old songs, and we try to avoid that. So we only start writing new material once the tour is done. So writing takes a while, recording takes a while, and that's how you get to those 4 year intervals. But we definitely don't want to stretch it to 6, 10, 8, whatever. So we want to be faster again.
Yeah. And Eduardo Vélez asked if there's any chance you think that the Blind Guardian open air will happen again.
There definitely is a chance. The thing is, back when we did it, the idea was to do it more often on what kind of regular basis. The problem is it takes a lot of work to put it up, a lot of work in advance, preparing everything. And in a normal Blind Guardian cycle, we simply don't have the time to do that because we're always working on a new album, on a tour, on whatever. But we would like to do it again and make it something special again. But it has to fit into the time schedule. So we'll have to see how we can put it in, squeeze it in, and make it something good.
Yeah. Okay, so next question is from Juan Jose del Rio. He asked if there's any topic in particular that you haven't written about before in your songs that you would like to do songs or a concept album or something like that. Is there some sort of inspiration that you still have to tackle with the guys?
There's one, but now we have a song about it. Me and Hansi are big fans of the Stormlight archives, but now we have a song about it, so I can cross that off the list. I mean, whatever inspires you. I don't necessarily see us doing another concept album anytime soon. I'm not saying we won't ever do it again, but obviously that's a concept album means more work and limitations on the other end, because you only have to go for one kind of topic. But it can be fun. It was fun when we did our concept albums, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. As I was saying, we're open for anything that inspires us and that we think, oh, that's a great story. There's a song in there, so let's find it and write it.
Yeah, and talking about the concept album, of course, Nightfall in Middle Earth is like the greatest example of that. And well, since you've played two of your most iconic albums before in special occasions, Imaginations and Somewhere Far Beyond, a few people were asking, Victor Vega, Jaime Contreras, and Katy were wondering if there's gonna be any chance to see a special tour or one-time show playing Nightfall in from back to back. And what do you think? How do you see that happening?
It might happen. We don't have any plans for that right now. Obviously, the God Machine tour is about to start finally in September, so we're focusing on that now. It might happen. I don't know. It would mean that we would have to rehearse because there are some songs that we didn't play since Nightfall and we forgot how to play them, so we would have to relearn them. And we're lazy. But not anything is possible. The thing is, as you mentioned, we did it twice so far. We did the whole Imaginations thing and the Summer Far Beyond thing. On the one hand, it is fun because both of those albums had a great flow, so it made sense to play them in a row. On the other hand, what I don't like about stuff like this is obviously it's very predictable because if you announce something like this, fans know what's going to be the next song and the song after that, and that's something that I don't like. We'll see. It might happen, it might not happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I was interested also because I've seen that other bands have released graphic novels with a certain album, or and I don't know if you've ever had that kind of being contacted by a company or like someone trying to work together with you to come up with some kind of graphic novel or something.
There was supposed to be a graphic novel with the previous album with Beyond the Red Mirror, which unfortunately did not work in the end because the artist couldn't keep deadlines, and in the end we had to scrap it. But yeah, there was a plan, and especially for me that was sad because I'm a huge comic fan, and it looked great, but it wasn't finished in time. So sorry.
Yeah. And our friend from the staff, Francisco, asked if you look back now, and Blind Guardian is gonna turn 40 years soonish, in the next few years. Looking back on your career, what do you think? Like when you retire, for example, what is gonna be kind of the legacy of like the thing that you're most proud of when you look back?
Our music. I mean, we're doing this since the middle of the 80s, and we always did what we felt like doing. So we never tried to follow any trends or stuff like that. We always did what came from our hearts. And I think that's the reason why we're still here, because people realize that we are passionate about our music. And that's something that I'm proud about, because obviously back then when we started, we had no idea how long it would last. You never know. And now, almost 40 years later, we're still here talking about that. We're about to go on stage tonight, whenever. So, yeah, I mean, that's a legacy. I mean, we have a whole bunch of albums that really mean a lot to people. And, there are songs in the set list, whenever we play them, people start crying in front of the stage. And that's what really impresses me. Every night when that happens, I get goosebumps. So I think that's quite a legacy.
Yeah, no, I really liked your answer. It's very, very. Thank you for the sincerity and opening your heart. I think fans will appreciate that a lot, and fans are very, Blind Guardian is like a family, and people like everyone who's been on the band like becomes like very important, and of course Toman was like the drummer in the biggest or in the golden era, if you want to call it, or for the fans at least, and there's always talk about are they ever gonna play a one show together, one tour, one song. Like a lot of bands have done that with mini reunion, or like just invite, like play a song in Wacken or whatever. Do you see that ever happen? Have you stayed in touch with him?
We are in contact. We're friends, so there are no problems at all between us and Toman. But I don't really see that happening. At least we never talked about it. There are no plans for that because I mean, Frederick is in the band longer than Toman ever has been in Blind Guardian, and there's no real reason to change anything. Obviously, I get it that something like this is always interesting for especially the old school fans, but there are no plans. I'm not saying it will never ever happen. I don't know what the future holds, but we don't plan anything like that, no.
Yeah. Vale asked, what would you do if you were not a musician? And you can think it backwards, or what are your are you looking forward to something when you retire, if you ever retire? Because artists don't tend to do that.
No, I don't think about retirement. Definitely not. Something that I would love to do and I actually already talked to a person about that. A friend of mine has a custom shop for guitar work, so he does custom shop stuff for Gibson and Taylor guitars and whatever. And at some point, he takes care of all my guitars. Whenever my guitars need maintenance, I go there and Dragan does his magic on them. And at some point, I talked to him about learning how to build a guitar.
Okay.
The problem is obviously that needs time, and I would go to his place on a daily basis, like learning a job, and then tours and studio work and everything interfere. So I never started this so far. I hope I can still start this at some point, and that's something that would really interest me, like building instruments, because I'm a guitar nerd. I just love guitars. So being able to build your own guitars is something that's really appealing to me. So that would be something nice. But as I was saying, I'm not thinking about retiring at all, because we're loving every second of it, of what we're doing. So why would we waste a single thought about retirement?
Yeah, and you're sounding great live, and the last album also I think was the best one in many years. So like I think it's a great moment for the band, and I think the fact that you're headlining back in next year, it took a very long time. There's some bands that play very often in Bakken, but what is their relationship between you and them? Do you try to keep it something, okay, let's not overdo it, or how does it happen?
It's we're friends with Jensen and Hübner. I mean, we played on Wacken the first time was '92, I think. So one of the I think it was the first official festival, because they did one before, but that was a birthday party, kind of. So we were headlining one of the days of the very first Wacken, and I think the only album with which we did not play Wacken was, for whatever reason, I don't remember why it didn't happen back then, was Imaginations. With every other album we played Wacken. And that's how we kind of keep it. If we put out a new album, we'll play Wacken. But without putting out a new album, why play the same festival like 3 times? So, you should be able to give people something new. So that's how we keep it. Normally if we put out an album, we first do the regular touring. Then the year after that, we do a round of festivals. And then the year after that, most of the times we do another small round, couple of gigs, couple of more festivals, whatever. And then we start working on the next one. And somewhere in this period, there's going to be a Wacken show, most likely. But then we want to focus on the new album before we do the live thing again.
Yeah, that makes sense, and maybe the reason is that there was so much time between these last 2 albums that it feels like an eternity. Yeah, but you did the Wacken Worldwide. Yeah, back then I think that was quite uplifting for a lot of people, because some of those shows were pre-recorded, but you did it live, and or at least you were playing in the same spot, and it was like very the production was huge, and you played a new song, and then no one was expecting you to play a song that no one has heard before.
That's why we did it.
But it was so much going back to the old school, like, because I think that was even more surprising that like, whoa, this is so heavy, this is so, and actually the I was listening to the God Machine today from beginning to end, and it was so much guitar driven. I don't know if you at any point between the guys in the band thought that, okay, we've done so much orchestrations, we've done so much, keyboards and layers, but like, how did that happen that you came to the conclusion of going back to a more, like, I don't know, heavier sound, or like more raw sound version of Blind Guardian?
I think it was a natural step. I think the big turning point, if you want to call it like that, was the release of the orchestral album back in, when did it come out, 2020 or whenever it was?
19 or something, yeah.
Because, I mean, we've been working on that one forever, but once this was released, we kind of finally had this off our backs, and we were ready to do something completely different, because where do you go after a purely orchestral album? You can't become more orchestral. So for us, the logical step was, okay, no more orchestra, let's do something different, and the result was I don't like calling it an old school album because it is not. It has tons of modern Blind Guardian elements on there. But obviously the old school factor is the speed, the aggression, the heaviness. It was fun. You know, I mean, to me, it's a logical progression because, first of all, we don't want to repeat ourselves. And then you can't top an orchestra album by recording two orchestras at the same time or whatever. You know, there's no way left to go in that direction. So we had to make a turn and go in a different direction. And yeah, God Machine is the result.
Yeah. That sounds like a good explanation. And now you're going in November to Chile. I come from Chile. I live here, but I work with my friends from there. A few people are asking, Pancho and Fabio, for example, about are you planning to do any meet and greet? I remember the first time you went there, and I was like a teenager, and I was like, whoa, meeting these guys, like they're actually people, they're not like these gods. so do you think that there's any chance that you're gonna do meet and greets or something like that?
To be honest, I have absolutely no idea because I don't know what the schedules will be look like. But you know, the thing is, if people want to meet us, that's always possible. You wait at the bus or at the venue or anything, because obviously for us to play a gig, we have to enter the venue. So there's a guarantee you can meet us there. And I have no idea if there will be official meet and greets. I simply don't know.
Yeah.
There might be, there might not be.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the schedule looks like.
Okay. The last question is a bit weird. It's from one of our staff members, Renzo. This is a guy who's asking, why do I love you the way I do? Can you help this guy out?
I'm just lovely. You have a good taste. I don't know. That must be the reason.
Yeah, great answer. So, well, you have the chance now to invite people to the next Blind Guardian concert in Chile, November 24th, tour, God Machine Tour, Teatro Caupolicán. So, Santiago de Chile, you have the floor too.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a while for us to be in Chile, and finally we have the chance to return. I hope you guys are as excited as we are, because we are. And let's celebrate a party there. As I was saying, if there's not going to be a meet and greet, you can still meet us at the gig. And let's do this. I mean, see you in November. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you, Marcus. Have a nice gig tonight.
That's the plan.